Hi, my name is Jacob and welcome to another episode of Uncut on the Abrasive Conversations platform. Today I want to speak about football, or as we in South Africa know it as soccer. So the current national coach came out and say that the PSL, or the Premier Soccer League in South Africa, are not up to standard, and the level is not high enough to give him the players that will be competing at a high level at the international front. So currently there's a debate raging on in the media and on social media. For example, some coaches came out and say that it was very disrespectful of Hugo Broos to make that particular statement. Some players have came out and also said that is very disrespectful. I know even academics on social media have been criticizing the coach and say, why doesn't this particular coach go back to Belgium or Europe to go and coach where the standard is much better? I think a lot of the people who criticizes the statement of the current Bafana coach are missing the point completely. The point is that the type of players that we're currently producing in South Africa are just not able to compete at the international level, and we have seen that. We have seen when they're playing soccer at the international level, they just don't cut it. It doesn't. You can see it. It's obvious. The quality is not there. So. And here's the interesting thing. The last time Bafana qualified for the World Cup was way back, I think, in 2001. So they qualified in 2001 and then they competed in the 2002 World Cup. So that's the last time that you can say that there was a Bafana team that produced the quality of players that could compete at the international level. So the quality is not there currently. That's obvious factor, and that raises a more important question: why is the quality not there? So if you would recall, if you follow rugby for example, I think most soccer fans in South Africa also follow rugby. When Rassie was appointed as the Springbok coach, one of the first things that he identified is that the squad depth is not there. Is that when he took over from Cloete, is that the squad depth is just not there. The talent, you don't see the talent reflecting in the national team that you will find at lower levels. And this is where I want to enter the debate. Where is the problem of football currently in South Africa? Because if the PSL is not up to standard and it's from the PSL pool that the national team is selected, where else can we look? So is the talent and the depth and the quality at the lower levels? Is it in the first division? Is it the Motsepe League? Is it in the LFA? Where do you find it? Or do you even find it in the Varsity Cup teams? Where is the quality of soccer players in South Africa? So I would say that there is, South Africa has quality soccer players, and many of these soccer players are brilliant individually, so they can play soccer. The thing is that soccer has become very technical. Technical in terms of the game, how the game is set out, how you have to study the games. So when you are playing nowadays as a soccer player, it's not only good to know the basics, but you also need to know the systems in which many clubs are playing now. So the game has become very technical and very complex. So it's important to introduce young players at a very young age to these systems, combine it with basic skills. And this is, I think, where the problem is. The problem is that the lower levels, there is not a focus on development. There is not a development on football development or soccer development at the lower levels. And that's largely because of how SAFA is set up as an institution or organization. I don't think clubs has the resources to develop teams from the age of 5 up until, I would say, 16, 21, up until under 23. They just don't have the resources. There's a few clubs in South Africa that really have that type of resources that can develop those type of developmental programs. So the first thing that is absent in South Africa's soccer development is that there is no development program. There's no development program at all. So most of these young kids who are supposed to be introduced to the complexities and the technical of the systems in which a lot of the teams are currently playing in, it's non-existent. They don't get it. So whenever they get it, it's whenever they encounter a semi-professional type of environment or where there is a level of coaching that is beyond the basics. So for example, if a player doesn't get into one of the tiers and then they go play at varsity football, then this is where they will be introduced to systems. And that might be the first time that this talented young person are introduced to a system. But to understand the system, you have to understand other systems, because that is how soccer is being played currently at the international level. So imagine, to simplify it, imagine soccer in South Africa as a chess game. So you have various ways of opening a chess game. So it's the system that you open that the team will counter, or the player opposite you will develop he or their game. So the person opposite you will develop their game the way you open your game. And that's exactly how soccer is being played. If you play a specific system, then the opposite team knows exactly this is the system that, and each system have variations of competing. So if young kids are not having this type of information much earlier, then it's too late when they get to 16. From 16 onwards to 23, it's way too late. So they're behind, and I think that is currently the major problem in South Africa. There is just not the depth, or in terms of knowledge, is not there. We have the talent, no doubt about that. South Africa is one of the most talented nations when it comes to all sports codes, from athletics, cricket, rugby. So it's all there. But I don't think at the lower levels there is the skills and the capacity to develop soccer. So here is my solution to this particular problem, and I've been sitting on this solution for many years, is if you look at how why rugby and cricket is so successful in South Africa, and even athletics, why they're so successful, is because they are based in schools. So they're based in schools, so that is where the child is, or the kid or the learner is exposed to development, and this is where they get the basic coaching, and there is a real program that is taking place. Soccer in South Africa is different. It is not situated in the schools. Yes, there is some few schools, and there's some few leagues scattered throughout out South Africa, but there is not prominent soccer leagues as you would find with rugby, cricket, and athletics in South Africa. And I think we need to move soccer or football development away from the football club or SAFA, and we have to put it back into the schools. So then the club doesn't have the responsibility of focusing on your grade from 5 years, from preschool up until they're almost exiting the system. So then that can have a parallel program with other sports code within the school. But that is not how the system is currently working in South Africa. We know that soccer development or football development is very political, and it's a politics that is devastating to the development of soccer and football in South Africa. So to get back to Hugo Broos, I agree with him. I agree fully with him that the quality of the PSL is just not there. However, it doesn't mean that there is not quality players or football clubs in South Africa. But I do believe the problem is that there is soccer development is way too late introduced, or the systems or the technical side is introduced way too late, and that is what is keeping young children or the very good players behind, and that is what actually keep us as a nation that loves the sport so much behind. So we have to build it up from a lower level, and then we'll have the talent pool from which other clubs can draw. The same way a lot of varsities and provincial clubs is currently drawing from rugby. And this is the conversation that we're supposed to have. So in terms of the PSL, there's one dominant club currently. It's Sundowns. Sundowns is winning everything. It's winning the league every year. It's competing on the African continent, and they are making the other clubs look like there's no competition. I think one sports commentator even said it, that there is no competition for Sundowns currently in South Africa. If we take it 15 years back, 20 years back, then you would see that Sundowns wasn't the club that it is today. But they have a program, they have a system in place. Motsepe has money, so money was poured into the club, the long-term vision, and that was developed. The dominant clubs of that time, like your Chiefs and your Pirates, they are shadows of themselves. They cannot compete with Sundowns. They cannot compete on the continent, and they cannot even compete in the world. Sundowns have competed in several occasions at the World Club Championship, so they are right there. They are a club that is recognized in the world. So there's one club in South Africa that is of quality, and that club is in the PSL. The rest of the clubs are not at a standard that can compete on the continent or even globally, and that is the truth. And I think that is what Hugo Broos is saying, is that if the clubs is a reflection of the clubs is a reflection of the national team, then that national team is unfortunately not able to compete at the international level. So that is my take on this particular issue. So please let me know what you think, and if you have time, and if you watch it up until here and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Until we see each other again, bye bye.